So welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. We are very honored and happy to see this room full of people. And I thank you for being here, but I also thank our co-sponsors that helped ENCOD to organize this side event. And I just would like to mention some of them, so you may have known them on the program, but I thank the Cannabis Embassy for sure, Acura Santo Amor, which is a Brazilian NGO, the Senate Foundation, David Borden, and for sure related job from Fields of Green for All. Anna from Endpoint, but she's not there because there is another side event, very interesting one organized by the Czech Republic, so we will apologize her. And then I would like also to thank Michael and Etienne from Veteran Action Council. This is our co-sponsor. So the title of this side event is about the history of the cannabis within the international framework, and we target this year of 1925, which marks today the centenary of the introduction of the cannabis inside the international law. But before that, I just would like to introduce my colleague from ENCOD, Anna Freira Gomez. She is the General Secretary of ENCOD, and she will just give you a short introduction about what is the side event content.
So this side event is linked, hello everybody. This side event is linked to the exhibition, and I'm to present the long journey of cannabis since 1925 to present to present what's going on since the single convention was approved, and what was the evolution of the work done by the civil society.
And then I would like to let you introduce the thing that we will look back.
So the history of cannabis prohibition has been a long and checkered one. I'm from South Africa, and South Africa was instrumental in getting cannabis prohibited internationally. On the continent of Africa, in various areas, we've been using the cannabis plant, trading in it and cultivating it for over 700 years. But in 1878, there was an influx of Indian indentured laborers into what is now called the KwaZulu-Natal province in South Africa. These slaves, which is the correct term, brought with them from India and from various parts of Southern Asia the seeds of their sacrament, the bhang. They were shipped into the Natal province, where they met with the colonial rulers, and on the word of one British doctor who wrote back to the colonial powers in England, cannabis was banned, and that was the first time in history that cannabis had been prohibited by one population group over another population group. And we know that that ended up in somewhat of a disaster that was called apartheid for 48 years in South Africa. This British doctor, and I love to quote my late Jules, my partner, he always used to say, make this quote from this doctor, who said, because it renders the indigents unfit for the purpose they were brought to the colonies in the first place. So then in 1908, our then Prime Minister, combined with the government of Egypt and with a bit of input from the government of Brazil, wrote to the League of Nations The League of Nations, the precursor to the United Nations, was busy sitting and working out the International Opium Convention. They were busy banning opium. So South Africa, Egypt, and Brazil wrote to the League of Nations and said, oh, but what about this terrible thing called dasha? We now call it dacha in South Africa. Bang, hashish, and you'll see later there's 1,000 different names for this plant. What about this? We need this banned as well. So in 1925, on the 19th of February, to be absolutely exact, cannabis entered into international law and was effectively prohibited internationally. During that very same year, cannabis also entered into the international pharmacopoeia, and it stayed there for a while and then it was taken out. So that's the background of the kind of sordid old history of the prohibition of cannabis. Now, I want to just walk you through a little bit of our exhibition, which is over there, and we hope that you can come and visit us there and introduce yourselves, because as the Cannabis Embassy, we are an organization that connects grassroots cannabis organizations internationally. It's all very well us sitting here in the hallowed halls of the United Nations and rubbing shoulders with all the grass tops organizations. But back at home, many of our rural farmers and vulnerable communities have been left high and dry, excuse the pun, with various forms of cannabis legalization around the world. And certainly in Africa, we find that the livelihoods of many rural people have been severely threatened by the move to medical prescription cannabis and industrial cannabis controlled by the corporations. So up here we have, you'll see when you get to our exhibition that we have a big folder, and we have all of these posters because we didn't have enough space to put them all up. And this is basically a chronology of international law of cannabis going back to the late 19th century. And then it traces all the way through, and you can find this on our Cannabis Embassy website, all the way through where the next major breakthrough that we had in getting rid of cannabis prohibition was the rescheduling at the United Nations in 2020. This was the result of the WHO conducting a review of cannabis with an expert review of cannabis in 2016. We waited 4 long years, and eventually in December 2020, cannabis was rescheduled. But we've still got a long way to go. So there's not time to go through everything on this slide, but we're walking you through the exhibition, and we really don't want to be just us standing up here and talking, so please put up your hand. This is not a side event that's got a whole lot of speakers. This is a side event that's a discussion. So anybody got any questions or would make a comment, please just put up your hand and we can do that. So where I come from, these are 53 different words for cannabis in Africa. And you know, the different words, the different ways of using cannabis, the different relationships with cannabis are as varied as the nations on the earth. So this often creates a little bit of confusion, because people think that medical cannabis is different from marijuana, you know. In South Africa, the prohibitionists hate the word dacha because it sounds very, very guttural, and it's often used in a stigmatizing way. But when myself and my late partner and I were arrested in 2010, we decided to embrace the word dacha, and we called ourselves the dacha couple. The media called us that before. So it's always, all the different names for cannabis are reflections on the thousands of uses, the thousands of different types of people that uses, the dozens and dozens of different ways that it is cultivated. And often the words lead to stigma, but then we need to use those words to get rid of the stigma. Here in South Africa, we say this 1,000 times a day. The harms of prohibition far outweigh the perceived harms of the plant. This is our struggle to get evidence-based policy. I've been told many times over the last 15 years that we're never going to get evidence-based policy, because surely laws are enacted in our countries in order to reduce harm. But never anywhere in the world, not in America, not all the way in South Africa, has the evidence of the harms of cannabis been ventilated in court. And that is a quote from the Native Commission in South Africa at the turn of the 20th century, that Native people quite like using this plant, and it doesn't seem to really have too much of an effect. But on the other side, we see continually to this day, all over the world, people being locked up in cages for their use, cultivation, and trading. This concept of cognitive liberty is something that's very central to what we do. My mind, my body, my choice. There is a basic right to cognitive liberty that is a basic human right. Would you agree, Farid?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So this is something that was central to our trial, the court case that we held in 2017 that was unfortunately deemed part heard because they didn't book enough court days, so we ran out of time to hear all of our experts. In South Africa, we have our, for want of a better word, First Nations people, who are the Khoi, the San, and the Nama. And this was actually this photograph was taken in the Constitutional Court in South Africa of one of our brothers from the Khoi and San people. So everybody from the hallowed halls of the United Nations down to the most vulnerable communities in the most remote areas in the world has this right to think what they want to think, to have in their mind what they want to have in their mind, so long as they are not causing harm to themselves, to their fellow human beings, or the environment. And that, at the end of the day, is the bottom line. It's a very big concept, especially with a plant like cannabis that is so controversial. I might have smoked the fattest spliff before I came in here and spoke to you today, and I promise you none of you would be any the wiser, because I have that right to cognitive liberty and I have that right to the responsible use of cannabis. So then you have that on the one hand, this big concept of cognitive liberty, and on the other hand you've got this reality of people having their liberty taken away and being locked up in cages continually, day in and day out, all around the world. So the Geneva Opium Convention first brought Indian hemp under control. It entered the international pharmacopoeia, and that's only in the last 100 years. So if you take the whole of human history as 12 hours in a day, Michael can help me with this quote, he always says it, the prohibition of cannabis has really been a fraction of a second. If you look at the bigger picture. And certainly at the Cannabis Embassy, our partners, our affiliates, our international allies, we are absolutely determined to do it again, even if it takes us the next 100 years. One of the things that we've realized in the last 12 or so years of attending these meetings here at the United Nations is that drug policy is not static. We must say that many people around the world see cannabis legalization or liberalization or cannabis drug policy reform, however you want to frame it, as something that's a done deal. Particularly people who fund grassroots organization. Oh, cannabis, that's done. Isn't it legal? Oh, everybody sorted that one out already. But we come here again and again to represent our favorite plant and to remind everybody that drug policy is ever evolving. And while cannabis might be legal in quite a few parts of the world now, it's not about just legalize it and weed's going to save the world. It's not about that. It has now become something that is about how it is going to be legalized. And we certainly find that in Africa, where countries such as Ghana and Zimbabwe have legalized the medical and industrial use of cannabis while they still arrest their citizens in the streets. So they've got one law for people who've got money and who are producing medicine, and then they have another law for people who use and cultivate cannabis for themselves, or use and cultivate cannabis in order to get high. So we have to keep reminding ourselves that there's a pathway. There's a pathway through this prohibition of cannabis. And drug policy is not static from country to country either. Different countries have got different requirements. They have different priorities. They have different populations. So we must always keep this conversation going about cannabis policy reform so that we can keep the momentum going, no matter how long things stay the same at the United Nations. And this is just, it might have become a cliche over the years and it might have been overused, but this is just one of our favorite quotes. When it comes to cannabis, they tried to bury us, but they didn't know that we were seeds.
Well,
Yeah. There. Okay. So those are the posters that are in our folder on our exhibition, and I'll hand over to Farid.
Yeah. So thank you, Myrtle, for this presentation of the exhibition, and for sure I invite you to visit this booth, because this is not only the text that you can read, this is also some fabric that you can discover, some of the products, the byproducts that are made from cannabis, and this is also a way to show up that cannabis plant has multi-purposes, and some of the purposes are very interesting regarding the situation, actually regarding the climate change and more, many other challenges that mankind is confronted with. So maybe at the end of this side event, we'll, as a group, will join this place, and so you will discover this exhibition, but again, try to save a little bit of time to pass by this booth. Also, regarding the different document that we would like you to get in, because this is side event is like a journey. You travel through the exhibition, but also I would like you to go into the documentation delivered by the UNODC on its website regarding this session, 68th session of the CND. And thanks to Fields of Green for All, there is last year we had 4 or 5 written statements, but this year we have this very interesting, very important statement delivered by Fields of Green for All. So I will quote as the chair of the CND. So you will find this document on e/cn.7/2025/NGO/13. And I invite you to go and look and read and share this statement. Is not so long to read, but it will also give you some background about this history, this long journey of the cannabis prohibition. Just to remind you that yesterday we were demonstrating at the entrance of the UN buildings, just at the exit of the subway, in order to ensure that you as delegates, but also the civil agent from the United Nations agencies can know what we are doing here, what we are trying to promote, and mostly what we are trying to advocate. And so we organized this little demonstration. We had some plans, and unfortunately those plans, we would have liked them to get into the UN, We would like them, for the people that will come to our exhibition, to see this natural plant, but unfortunately we didn't get the clearance to enter with the plants inside the UN. But at least if you go outside the UN, next to the Tree of Hope, this monument dedicated for all the victims of the drug war, you will find maybe a little plant there, and I hope that the people will take care of it. And this is symbolically just one plant that has been planted there, but it's already existing. Also, during this journey, I would like you to go, and this is very important for those who are attending this side event, because unfortunately he's not there, and I say hello to Kenzie Rigoulet-Zemouli, who is one member of the Cannabis Embassy,